Hi, I'm Leke. Today we're looking at using audio in Ableton. I'm gonna go over all the basics and show you some workflow tricks. I will only be using samples of my own, so you can download all of them for free off my Bandcamp page. At the end of the video, I have a little surprise for the industrial techno producers, so keep watching. So in this video, we're gonna be working with 3 different types of audio editing. So the first one is just drag an audio file onto a track. It's the easiest one and the one all DAWs basically have. So I'm going to be using my own samples for this. They are here. Just going to take random acid loop. There we are. Okay, let's hear it. Okay, now as you can see, this audio file says 130 BPM, but our project is 145. I don't know exactly what your Ableton settings are, but it might or might not have already warped the audio file. My Ableton, it doesn't warp it automatically, so I have to do it. Gonna double click. So warping basically means that you're going to adjust the length of a sample by speeding it up or slowing it down to be synced to your project BPM. Press warp. Now at the moment, Ableton thinks the BPM of this clip is 145, as it says here. So I'm gonna take it down to 130, as it says on the file, because I labeled them. Okay, short, listen again. I'm gonna use a metronome. So, what I needed. Now, what else can we do and see on this file? So, first you see 2 waveforms. One is for the left channel, the upper one. The one below is for the right audio channel. If your audio file is mono, then you just see one waveform. A little bigger. Zoom in. So, as you can see, there are little rectangles in the corners, and these are used to fade your sample. So, for example, now there's a fade in. You can do the same at the end of your sample. Okay. This is used to fade stuff in, but also to remove clicks, pops from audio samples by just fading like the first half, not even half a second. With this little rectangle, you can adjust the shape of your fade. So it's also pretty useful. Some cool thing you can do is transpose it. Right. So let's say I want it higher. Transpose it up. Sounds pretty bad. That's alright. You can also reverse the audio sample. I think it's Command R to do this. Nope. R. Yeah, just R. Command R is to rename. So just select it, press R, and it's reversed. Okay. You can also adjust the clip gain. So let's say you recorded something at a very low gain. So this is all you see. Then you can just turn this up, make it bigger and louder, of course. Now, again, about warping, there are a couple of different ways of warping, different algorithms. So the default is beats, but you can also take something like repitch. So now transpose button doesn't work, but if you change the BPM, pitch will also change. It's a bit like a vinyl player. So that's that. We can change the name here, change the color. But if you press this, you can do some automation instead of doing it in this view, like I do most of the time. You can do it here. Choose what you want to automate. Then you can draw. This is enabled, like this. So that's some basic things. The next way of editing audio we're going to look at is using Ableton Simpler. It's an Ableton instrument. So here, instruments, Simpler. You can drag and drop an audio file into Simpler, but the track itself is a MIDI track. Yeah. No, I'm going to take a different one. Not sure actually. Yeah, let's just keep this one. Now you can trigger this sample by using the keys. So this, if you press a different key, it will be repitched an octave down. Also gonna warp it so it doesn't change the length of the sample or the speed of the sample when I trigger a different, press a different key. That's better. Okay. Some cool things you can do is you can adjust the beginning and the end. Say I just want this. You can put it in a loop. Just like this. Now we can record it. Oh, damn. Too slow. Okay. So, let's hear it. Sounds a bit weird. You can adjust the attack, decay, sustain, release, volume, whatever you want. And with controls here, you have a better view of your LFO and your frequency, your EQ. So we can EQ only one thing. Let's say we take out the low end. This. Now you can assign an use an LFO to pan, use volume, pitch, whatever you want. You can adjust the rate. You can also sync it to the BPM, the speed of our track. Let's say we want to do it with panning. Sounds pretty cool. You can choose another wave, square. I like sine, to be honest. Here we have an amplitude envelope and a pitch envelope we can adjust. Not going to use this right now. I think we are fine. So Ableton also has something called Sampler. It's basically an advanced version of Simpler, or Simpler is the easy version of Sampler. I want to keep this video basic, so I'm not going to dive into Sampler. I also don't use it that much, to be honest, so I don't know that much about it. our next instrument is a drum rack. Drum rack, there we are. This is basically kind of sort of a digital launch pad, I suppose. You can trigger all of these pads, these are pads, with your keys, with a launch pad, with whatever you want, with whatever you MIDI mapped it to. On each pad you can put a different sample or even an instrument. Never put an instrument on one. I know it's possible, but I don't really think it's that useful. Let's go into my sample pack again. Kick one shots. You can just select as many samples as you want and then drag them over here. As you can see, they are all in our drum rack at the moment. And now we can play them with our keys. No, not yet. I'm gonna have to transpose my keyboard down, as you can see here, because we're too high. There we are. So I have 5 samples. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. As you can see, you can put loads of samples in one drum rack. I don't think it's really useful to use all of the space you have. I use it a lot to audition kick samples or just other samples, to audition samples. So let's say I have a track, but I want a different kick, and I look for 5, 10 kicks I like, put them all in one rack, give all of them the same MIDI information. I'm gonna do that now. That was pretty bad. Let's see what quantize can do. Right. Now we can, as you can see, they're all labeled, our keys. So we have here, 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 and here. We're gonna copy this. Up, 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 and one more. Now that sounds like shit. So we have to solo one. And this way you can audition kicks, or that's what I call it. And they're like, well, let's try this one. No, let's try this one. Oh, well, that's pretty good. This one. No, this one maybe. Oh. And then you can just press this one, delete it. If you don't like it, delete, delete, delete. Okay. As you can see, it looks similar to simpler. It's because it basically is simpler. The only difference is that if I press a different key, I won't re-pitch the sample, but I will just trigger another sample. But so the controls work in the same way. This different views, starting time and warping, it's all the same. Something else pretty cool about this is this chain view. So this shows you that a drum rack is basically a lot of audio tracks combined. No, a lot of simpler tracks combined. Because we have one now, but if I go back, you can see we used to have 4 tracks in our drum rack. And just instead of showing them in this view, we only see them here, and that makes it much more clean and easy to work with. One last cool feature of this drum rack are the macro controls, whatever. I just put an EQ on this kick. If you go to macro, and I assigned a control to it. So I'm gonna undo. Let's say I want to easily control this knob. So I don't want to always have to open my drum rack, go into the sample, open this, and I click this, and I can just map it to micro 1. And now all I have to do is open my drum rack, and I can use this knob to adjust the EQ settings. So That's really useful. One last thing I want to mention, what I really like about Ableton, is how you can make a drum rack from an audio file. I'm going to show you right away. So let's say, you know what, I'm just going to show it to you because it's hard to explain what it actually does, but you'll get what I mean. So we're going to the sample. And now we are going to chop the sample in half full beat. Let's take full beats. Chop this sample in 8 beats. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay. If we now do slice to new MIDI track. Okay, warp markers. Those were the markers I just said. Let's listen to this audio file. Let's listen to this. I'm going to transpose this back up. Otherwise, it won't prove my point. So. It's the same. So what Ableton did is it made a drum rack out of the samples I made. So every beat is put onto a different key. And now you can press the keys on your keyboard and basically alter the whole asset line. Now it sounds like shit, but if I just do it here, it might not sound as bad as it did just now. Okay. So I basically made kind of a new asset line using this sample. And just as, yeah, it's just a drum rack, so everything I just told you about drum racks applies to this. It already has some macro controls mapped. For example, attack will change the attack on all of the samples in here. So this, and we will have less clicks. Okay, not really, all right. So yeah, that's basically slice to MIDI. And that's what I wanted to show you today. Thank you all for watching. As I said earlier, all these samples I used in this video are from my sample pack, which is free download on my Bandcamp. And a surprise for the industrial techno producers, I have a new sample pack. It's also free, so make sure to download it. If you like this video, please leave a like and subscribe, and see you next week.